Hey, you a sad, depressed teen? You're going to be more depressed by the end of this. Not at the end. You'll be depressed halfway through. Wait till the end.
A better you starts today.
The reason you are going to be depressed, first off, is that you are not alone. That was completely off the key. But there's close to 4 out of 5 of your peers, if you're in Gen Z, that are suffering from mental illness. I've done a bunch of videos on it before, but I have used a different scarecrow that I was using to say, this is all of this for. And I think that that's starting to get boring. So now I have a different one. I've got a different little scarecrow for you this time. The one that I'm always blaming is the internet. The internet's really bad. We've got all the studies that prove it, that the longer that you spend on the internet, this is all you need to know. I want you to have this instilled into your head. And I would very much like it if I was able to form sentences properly today. That would also be great, but beggars can't be choosers, so you might have to bear with me. I want you to write down that the longer that you spend on the internet, the more you are going to be depressed. Not only are you going to be depressed, you are not going to get anything done. And guess what? The key to happiness all the time, without fail, is getting things done. So you've screwed yourself on 2 fronts. I hope you're happy with yourself. Don't click off. Deal with the punishment. Then click off after this video, unless you want to watch more Jordan Shanks, which do continue. Here is the rub. There is also something that I think should be linked to this whole internet discussion and why social media is really bad for your self-esteem. There is another part of it, which I think is, you know why a lot of the reason that you are going to feel bad for your life, and this is something that we discuss in my Patreon in length, and we give you a bunch of tactics on how to assuage this very quickly. You are going to feel bad in your life because of activity. What does that mean? You must be new here. Because if you weren't, and you listened to every word like I was a priest, which I am, then you would know exactly what I mean by activity. Activity is when you are doing things that don't need to be done, purely because it's at the forefront of your mind, and you are getting that little urge of, oh, I need to do something now, because that'll make me feel happy. But you're doing empty things. You aren't doing... So a very good trick of this is part of the whole social media plan. They're trying to take you down, man. But they are. The people in Facebook and all the other ones that are really big at the moment, like MySpace, Ask Jeeves, Bing, all of them. Big Bing is trying to get you to click on a bunch of things. That's the whole business model, clicking all the time. That's really good for them because that scratches what they think is going to be the itch in the human brain. In the human monkey brain, it's, you know this instinctively. You know that if you do an activity, you are going to feel better at the end of it, regardless of what it is, normally. So say if you paint a picture, say if you bake something, what else is something that little wimpy psychos do in mental institutions? You smear shit on the wall. Oh no, that's just another form of painting, isn't it? Something like that. You're going to feel good at the end of it. Hammering a door. Not the nails, just the, really being destructive for no reason. I suppose there's a lot of ADD kids watching this. Yeah, that always made me happy as a kid. They are always going to feel better at the end of this. You are always going to feel better. It tricks the brain into, oh, here's a little activity you could do. You can click this little flower over the top here. And when you click the flower, it goes, ooh. And, well, it would have been the 2000s. It was very popular back then. But there was all these activities that it's constantly getting you to do. Click, 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 click. And then that tricks your brain into thinking there's the activity part is right around the corner, just around the corner. This is how chips work when you're eating chips. It feels like you're getting full. But your body is going, there is no nutrients here. That's how you become a fatty. That's how you become a boombalada. It is because the chips have no nutritional value in them, but your mind is thinking, but I'm eating. Where is it? No, I have to eat the whole thing now. It's true. Once you pop, you can't stop. You keep going. That's what's happening when you are on the internet. What is the rub of this? What I am saying is a big part of happiness is eliminating activity. Eliminating activity and increasing action. What's the distinction between activity and action? Activity is useless actions. Action is moving towards something. If you want to be more specific about what happiness is, key to happiness, always progress. Progress against something that is meaningful in your life. if you are moving towards something that is meaningful, if you are moving towards something that you see is going to be good for your relationship, good for your health, good for your finances, good for your career, good for your goals, whatever they might be, you're going to feel good at the end of the day. If you don't, if you fill it in with useless activities, you are going to feel like shit. Every day. Every time. Trust me, I know from being alive for thousands of days. Every one of those days that I've wasted, at the end, always, can't even sleep properly. Do you like my background, by the way? But I just think it's pretty neat, that's all. That's the difference between the two. Activity versus action. Fundamental, bedrock, self-help principle. How do we get into more action? The little trick to getting there, first off, by the way, is you sign up to Jordan Shanks. If you do sign up to Jordan Shanks, you'll get 3 extra videos a week. That's 3 extra videos a week without me constantly telling you to sign up to Jordan Shanks. This is the Spotify version, not the Spotify membership version where you're like, all right, I'm sick of hearing about Audible. And then you click on and then you get to listen to Britney Spears. That's the first benefit. But the second benefit is, I really think that if you have somebody in your ear constantly, if you can't afford a life coach, I'm the cheapo version of that, constantly telling you, hey, what you're doing is wasting valuable time. Let's get happy, let's get energized, let's get motivated so that we can move towards improving your life significantly. I have an extremely high approval rating of the people that sign up to Jordan Shanks. They are constantly coming up to me in the street, you changed my life. And I say, it wasn't me that changed your life. It was the books. But it was me that read the book. So yes, I did change your life. So make sure that you sign up to that. Anyway, here's the rub. Activity versus action. How do we get into action? The way to get there first is to do nothing. Oh, were you expecting that? No, because Buddhism and Stoicism are never intertwined into self-help. So unique, especially if your name isn't Ryan Holiday. But that is, honestly, the meat of it. The meat of it is, in order to just sit there and being like, okay, a very good analogy of this that I always like is, okay, you need to take your car for a wash. And then somebody walks in and says, go wash the car. And you say, okay, I'm just very busy at the moment. And you're uselessly spinning a bunch of plates like you're a circus act in the 20s. And they say, what are you doing? The car's over there. I'm busy at the moment. The thing is, you can't even think to get up the keys because you're, and that is most of the modern age now. Most of the modern age is filling your mind with a bunch of useless things. Oh, Trump won the presidency. No. And yeah, okay. As somebody who studies politics, believe me, I understand how consequential that is. I do. But can you do anything about that right now? This is just another plate spinning. Oh, Trump. And then another plate spinning over here. Oh, I don't agree with what the Young Turks said about Trump. And then another plate spinning over here. But that big barrel that guy put down the hill on TikTok, that was pretty cool. This is useless. All of it is useless to washing the car. And if you wash the car afterwards, what do you feel like every time? Relief. So what's the way forward? You stop all the plates spinning. Another way of thinking about this is the more activity that is in your mind, the sicker you are. If you think about all of the insane people that you ever see walking down the street, what are they always doing? Hey, coming here, putting it, wires in my arm! My arm! Wires! There's a bunch of things going off in their head. That is a mind that has way too much activity. What is a Stoic or Buddhist mind? Something where nothing's happening in there, completely clean slate. The way that I think, and this is an incredible trick, this is something that I normally would put behind Jordan Shanks, but every now and then I like to tease you to get you in. So I am going to be using this because I think that this is an incredibly profound, powerful tool. As we know from the teachings of the true Jesus Christ, Tony Robbins, I think that it was in his first book, the Old Testament, Unlimited Power, he was talking about the fact that your brain is nothing but a distinction machine. It's constantly looking of how to distinguish how the world is around it. That's what it's doing. So when it's looking at a closet, it's sitting there and thinking closet. But if it's dumber, it sits there and thinks door. And if it's even dumber than that, like a dog, it'll just go, ugh! oh, my head hurts. You can keep getting dumber. A mind that is able to discern things, that is a mind that is sharp. Everyone's mind in this day and age is quite sharp because there is constantly information being poured into it. That's a problem. Usually the problem now is to stop the mind. And the thing is, every time you are getting one of these distinctions, what is your mind doing? Your mind is looking for questions. Your mind is constantly questioning things. That's what it's doing, assessing everything that is around it all the time. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? That's really the operating mechanism of your brain. That is what it's doing. What does this mean? What does that mean? So, what it is constantly, and on top of this, huge cognitive bias in the brain, always looking for problems. Always looking for problems. So if you go and assess most of your thinking is always about, I haven't got the groceries yet, and the dog hasn't been walked, and Trump is the president. I've got to do all three things today. But that's how the brain sits there. Like, you've never had a conversation with Donald Trump. He doesn't know who the you are. He's just on the news all the time. So your brain sits there and says, I've really got to tell him what's what. And then it's never there. And so there's this unsolved tension, constant, and that's one of them. There's 1,000 of them. Or if you like Trump, you go, oh, I'm going up to congratulate him. I really got to congratulate Trump. He gives a shit about me. He doesn't know who you are, dude. Unless you're J.D. Vance, you're not having a discussion with him. And even then, I don't think he's going to be talking to him much either. So how do you get to that slate? How do we clean our brain so that it is a clean slate so that we're even able to focus on what is action as opposed to activity? What will move us forward in life? The answer is that and you need to write this down. Write this question down now. What if my problem wasn't a problem? What if my problem wasn't a problem? I get that our brain was built for the evolutionary age where we had serious problems like, where am I going to sleep tonight so I don't get eaten by a jaguar in the middle of the night? Where am I going to get berries that don't make me have diarrhea for 4 days? Can I fuck my mum or not? Like, there's a bunch of things that you need to figure out as a caveman. But then we start evolving, and a lot of the problems that you have today, they might feel very real in your head. Of course they do. Anything that is going on in your head, we talked about this before, another way of really separating yourself from somebody who is insane and someone who isn't. This is another telltale sign. This is all from this book that I read years ago that was talking about people in mental institutions. But people in mental institutions, a lot of the time, they cannot distance themselves from what is going on in their train of thought and reality. Whereas somebody who is more sane is able to cushion that in and think, oh, this is just a bunch of memories and random little bits of information that I've taken up today, mashing together and going through my consciousness. They at least understand that. Somebody who is truly insane doesn't get that. And the closer and the further you are away, the more distance that you have from that stream of consciousness, the more sane you are. Now I need to really point this out. If you are asking yourself the question, what if my problem wasn't a problem? What is happening there? If you ever say, I don't have any problems in life, what does your brain immediately do? Mine did it just then. Yes, it does. What are you talking about? There's a bunch of problems that I have. I need to pay my staff. I need to pay my bills. That's pretty much it. That's being in your 30s. Bills all the time. That's all my problems. That's why I need you to sign up to Jordan Shanks. But then on top of that, when we are doing that, when we are sitting there saying this problem is real and this problem is real, that insanity ensues. A lot of the time we are just constantly Rolodexing the same 5 or 6 problems. The dog, the bills for the dog. It just keeps going in the same loop. And if you are able to separate yourself from that, move that out a little bit. If you're able to move that out and distance yourself from it, you'll start to notice, I've been thinking about this problem a lot. I haven't even moved towards it. This is what we're talking about, the difference between activity and action. Activity is just thinking about the same problem over and over again. Action is moving towards solving it. You are not moving towards solving it because you have all that activity in your head. The way that you stop it is you start thinking about the fact that it isn't real. When you do sit there and say, I don't have a problem, sometimes it might work. But a lot of the time your brain will say, yeah, no, you do have that problem. Shut the hell up. What do you know? If you say, what if I didn't have that problem? What happens then? You are imagining an alternate reality where that problem isn't real. And when you start thinking about that alternate reality where that problem isn't real, all of a sudden your brain realizes, oh yeah, I'm an idiot. It realizes, yeah, this is all pretty imaginary. I'm telling you now, 95% of the shit that you are worried about is not real. 95% of it. 95% of it is wasted thought. 95% of it is slowly putting you into a crazy person's insane asylum. That's what it's just slowly moving you towards that. This is one of the gear breaks to go, hold on, you've thought about this before, you're not doing anything towards it. It's actually not even that big of a deal anyway. I honestly think one of the best things that Bill Hicks ever said, even though I'm not advising drugs here, I mean, that's more of a Friendly Geordie's podcast thing, but on Jordan Shanks, yeah, I get the whole psychedelics thing. Every time I say it, there's going to be some stoner, oh, psychedelics changed my life. I'm not doubting you. Generally, drug abuse, though, I think we can agree, probably not a great idea. Here's the rub. I think that Bill Hicks did say it very well when he said, drugs don't give you drugs don't stop you from achieving your goals. Drugs make you realize that your goals just aren't that important. It is true. A lot of this is all just mind games. You can make the goal important enough that you go towards it. Or you can give yourself a big buffer zone where you start thinking, okay, actually, you can do exactly the opposite of what Bill Hicks was saying. Instead of saying my goals aren't that important, you can start saying my problems aren't that important. And then what happens? Your goals naturally take up more space in your mind, and then you start naturally moving towards the goals because you're not thinking about these imaginary hurdles that are there. You just start doing. You start taking action, like signing up to Jordan Shanks.